I'm a lawyer, trained to follow the law. But 3 days ago, my identical twin sister stumbled into my office, her face so battered I barely knew her, and I made a choice that threw my entire life's code out the window. My name is Anna. I'm a 32-year-old criminal defense attorney. For a decade, I've lived by the code, the system, the process, the law. I've defended people I knew were guilty. I've cross-examined victims. I've done it all because I truly believed that the system, however flawed, was all we had. 3 days ago, that belief system was burned to the ground. It was burned down by my twin sister, Sara, or rather by the thing that stumbled into my office pretending to be her. Her body was a roadmap of bruises so horrific I didn't recognize her. And when she whispered that her husband, David, was responsible, something inside me didn't just snap, it detonated. In that moment, I made a vow. The system wouldn't touch this. I would. I would take her place, I would walk into the prison he'd built for her, and I would become the monster necessary to free her. You have to understand, when your other half, your identical twin, shows up broken and bleeding, begging you not to call 911 because she's terrified he'll kill her, your programming shorts out. I've spent 10 years putting dangerous people behind bars. I never imagined I'd have to become a predator to save my own family. But I did. And I'd do it all over again. If this story connects with you, hit that like button right now. Subscribe so you never miss a story like this, and comment below. What city are you watching from? I truly want to see how far this story travels. Now, let me tell you exactly how I taught that monster a lesson he'll never forget. To get this, you have to understand Sara and me. We aren't just twins, we're mirror images. Same eyes, same smile, same voice. Growing up, our own parents mixed us up. We were inseparable. We used to switch classes to take tests for each other. I'd handle her history exams, she'd handle my math. It was us against the world, two parts of a single soul. But where Sara was all light and air, I was not. I was the protective one, the fighter. I remember in 3rd grade, a bully pushed her down and made her bleed. I, all 60 pounds of me, broke his nose. I got suspended. When I got home, I saw Sara crying, not because she was hurt, but because I was in trouble. That was us. She felt bad for the bully. I wanted to make him pay. Life has a way of driving wedges. After high school, our paths split hard. I went to Georgetown, then Yale Law. I was driven by that 3rd grade bully energy. I wanted to be so strong, so smart, so unassailable that no one could ever hurt me or anyone I loved again. I moved to the city, buried myself in 80-hour work weeks at a top-tier firm. I lived in a high-rise. I drank expensive whiskey. I boxed. 3 times a week I was in a ring, learning to hit, and more importantly, learning to get hit. Sara stayed in our hometown. She became an elementary school teacher. She wanted to nurture, to build, to create peace. She was chasing normalcy, a white picket fence, a family. And that's when she met David. God, I should have seen it. I should have been paying attention, but I was buried in depositions. I missed every single warning sign. On the surface, David was flawless. A pharmaceutical rep. Good career, solid income, and charming as hell. He love-bombed her. Flowers for no reason, surprise weekend trips. He'd talk about family and forever. I met him at their engagement party. He was handsome, slick, and, I don't know, he never quite looked me in the eye. He smiled too much. When I shook his hand, it felt like shaking hands with a mannequin. "You're the big-shot lawyer," he'd said, squeezing my hand a little too hard. Must be tough, all that stress. I'm just glad I can give Sara the simple, happy life she deserves, one where she doesn't have to worry so much. It was a subtle dig, a way of marking his territory, pitting my stressful life against his simple, happy one. I dismissed it as insecurity. At their wedding, he gave this beautiful speech, how Sara was his light, his rock, how he'd spend eternity making her happy. I remember seeing my sister in her wedding dress, just glowing, and thinking, okay, Anna, let it go. She's happy. She deserves this. I was a damn fool. The space between us widened. At first, it felt normal. She was a wife now. My caseload was exploding. We went from talking daily to weekly to, "Hey Sara, sorry I missed you. Let's catch up soon." The texts became one-sided. "He doesn't like me on the phone much," she'd say. "He just wants us time." "He's cutting you off," I'd warned her once. "He's just in love, Anna," she'd said, annoyed. "Why do you have to be so cynical?" So I backed off. I didn't want to be the cynical lawyer sister. I let it happen. Every time I did see her, she seemed smaller, quieter. It was like someone was slowly turning down her volume, extinguishing her light. She wore more makeup. To cover the tired mom look, she'd laugh, but it was always around the eyes. She wore long sleeves. "I get cold easily now," she'd say. I told myself it was just my imagination. I fed myself so many lies because the truth was too monstrous to confront. My twin, my other half, was being systematically dismantled, and I was too preoccupied to notice. Until 3 days ago. It was a Tuesday afternoon, 2:14 p.m. I remember because I was about to walk into a deposition. I was in my office when my assistant buzzed me. Her voice was strained. "Anna, your sister is here, but she doesn't look right. I've put her in conference room B." My stomach plunged. Conference room B was the one with no windows, the one we used for crying clients. "Hold all my calls," I said. "Tell opposing counsel I'm in a family emergency. Postpone the depot." I walked down the hall. My heart was a drum. The door was closed. I pushed it open. For a split second, I genuinely didn't recognize the woman huddled in the chair. She was wearing sunglasses indoors. She had on a thick, high-necked sweater, and she was limping. She was favoring her left side as if every breath was agony. "Sara?" I stood there. My lawyer brain was already kicking in, cataloging the details. Defensive posture, hiding injuries, fear scent. "What's wrong? What happened?" She didn't speak. She just sat there, trembling like a leaf. I walked over, closed the distance, and locked the door. This required privacy. "Sara, talk to me." "Anna," she whispered. It was a croak. It didn't sound like her. "Take off the sunglasses," I said. My voice was harder than I meant it to be, but I was terrified, because deep down in my gut I already knew. She shook her head, a violent, jerky motion. Tears were cutting trails down her cheeks. That's when I saw them. Not the tears, the bruises. On her neck, above the collar of the sweater, finger-shaped, 4 on one side, a thumbprint on the other. Someone had choked my sister. My vision narrowed. I reached up and pulled the sunglasses off her face myself. I will see what I saw for the rest of my life. Her left eye was swollen completely shut, the skin a sickening deep purple-black. Her lip was split open, caked with dried blood. A gash on her cheekbone that was, God, it was infected. It needed stitches days ago. And her eyes, the one that could open, it was dead, empty. Like someone had reached inside and hollowed out everything that made her Sara. "That life this," I demanded. My voice was no longer my own. It was something else. "Anna, please." Her voice was a raw whisper. "Please don't call the police. Please, he'll kill me. He said if I ever told anyone, he'd kill me. He'll kill Lily." "Roll up your sleeve." It wasn't a request. It was my courtroom voice, the one that shatters witnesses. She hesitated. That hesitation confirmed everything. But I had to see. I needed the full scope. I reached out and pushed up the sleeve of her sweater. Oh God, it was a map of hell. Bruises everywhere. Old fading yellow ones overlapping new angry purple ones. There were belt marks across her forearms where she'd tried to shield herself, and circular burns, cigarette burns, dotting her skin like a diseased constellation. "The other arm," I said, my voice shaking. She showed me. More defensive wounds, and on her wrists, rope burns. He had tied her up. That son of a bitch had tied my sister up. I felt something inside me shatter. No, not shatter, explode. A rage so pure and hot it incinerated every professional line I'd ever drawn. This wasn't a client. This wasn't a case. This was my sister, my other half, the one I was supposed to protect. How long, I managed to get out through clenched teeth. 3 years, she whispered. It started about 6 months after the wedding. 3 years! 3 years of this torture, and I hadn't known. I hadn't seen. My own sister. Tell me everything, I said, pulling another chair close, taking her hands. From the beginning, every single detail. Do not spare me. I need to know what we're dealing with. And she did. For 2 hours, she talked, and I listened. It started small, she said. Control masked as concern. David needing to know where she was. It's just because I love you so much, baby, I worry. Then he took away her credit card. We need to save, he'd said. He gave her a weekly allowance, in cash, like a child. When she ran out buying groceries, he'd mock her. You're just bad with money, Sara. It's a good thing you have me. Then it was her clothes. Too tight, too revealing, making you look like you want other men to notice. So she dressed down. Then her friends. They were bad influences, so she stopped seeing them. Then it was me. He said I made Sara feel inferior, that I was always flashing my success. It wasn't true, but she was too tired to fight. The calls slowed, then stopped. He isolated her perfectly. And I, wrapped up in my own ambition, let him. The first time he hit her was a Thursday. She'd forgotten to take the trash bins to the curb. Such a minor thing, but David came home drunk. He'd been drinking more. He saw the bins and he just snapped. He grabbed her by the hair, dragged her outside, and slammed her face into the plastic bin. If you're going to act like trash, you can be with the trash, he'd screamed. She was in shock. He cried the next morning, brought flowers. I'm so sorry, baby. He swore it would never, ever happen again. And, like an idiot, her words, she believed him. But it happened again. And again. Every time he lost money gambling, and she later found out he was gambling constantly, he came home and took it out on her. Every bad day at work, she paid the price. And then his mother Eleanor moved in with them. That's when things got exponentially worse. Eleanor didn't just enable her son, she participated. She's evil, Anna, Sara cried. She encourages him. She tells him I'm disrespectful. One time he was hitting me, and I was trying to get away, and she held me down. She held my arms down and said, "You just need to learn to listen, dear." My stomach roiled. I wanted to be sick. Then came Chloe, David's sister. She got divorced and moved in too, rent-free. A full house, Sara said with a dead laugh. Chloe treated Sara like a maid. If Sara resisted, Chloe would run to David, crying that Sara was bullying her, and David would discipline Sara for disrespecting his family. It wasn't one abuser, it was 3. A coordinated system of psychological and physical torture designed to break my sister. Why now, Sara? I asked, my voice soft. What was different about last night? She looked at me. The emptiness was replaced by a new, more profound terror. He hit Lily, she choked out, her voice breaking completely. Last night. Lily was crying because she was scared of the yelling. David told her to shut up. When she couldn't stop, he slapped her. Across the face. Anna, she's 5. I tried to stop him. I tried to protect her. I flew at him, but he grabbed me by the throat and choked me until I couldn't breathe. He slammed my head against the kitchen counter over and over, and Eleanor and Chloe just stood there, watching. And then they joined in. Chloe was scratching me with her fingernails, and Eleanor shoved a dirty dish rag in my mouth to shut me up. My vision went red. My hands were shaking so hard I had to sit down. I can't do this anymore, Anna. I've tried to leave before, 2 times. He found me. He dragged me back. He said if I ever try to take Lily, he'll kill me. And he'll kill her too, just to make me watch. And I believe him. I looked at my identical twin and saw what 3 years of systematic terror had done. It had turned this bright, joyful woman into a ghost. That's when I said the words that changed everything. "You won't have to," I said. My voice was calm. It was the calmest I'd felt all day. The rage had cooled, hardened into something solid, into a plan. "Give me 3 days. Just 3 days, Sara, and I promise you he will never touch you or Lily ever again." She looked at me like I was insane. "What are you talking about? Go to the police?" "No," I said, standing up. "The police will file a report. He'll be out on bail in an hour and he'll kill you for real. No, we're going to do this my way. We're going to switch places." "Anna, no! You don't understand. He's dangerous. He'll hurt you. He'll know." I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile I give opposing counsel before I dismantle their case. "He won't know. That's the point. We're identical, but we're not the same. You're a teacher, Sara. You're a nurturer. I'm a lawyer, and I'm a boxer. Let him try." I looked at her. "You are going to stay here, in my apartment. You're going to be safe. You'll see a doctor I trust. And I am going to go be you for 3 days. I'm walking into that house as Sara, and I am going to become a lawyer, judge, and jury." I can't ask you to do that." "You're not asking," I said, pulling out my phone. "I'm telling. Now we have work to do. You need to tell me everything, every detail. How does he like his coffee? What's his password? And Sara, the financials. He took your cards. What else? Bank accounts? Any valuables?" Sara's one good eye teared up. He took my grandmother's pearls and the necklace Mom and Dad gave me for graduation. He said he was keeping them safe. I think he keeps them with his emergency cash in an old jar under a floorboard in the shed. He showed it to me once, to remind me what I had to lose." "Good. That was the leverage." "We're going to have a crash course," I said. "I am going to become you." For the next 4 hours, we drilled. I took notes. I recorded her voice on my phone, practicing her softer, breathier tone. I had her walk so I could mimic her cowed, hesitant gait. We went to my apartment. I put her in my guest room, locked the door, gave her a burner phone, and told her to order food and sleep. I, on the other hand, began to transform. I took off my $2,000 power suit. I went into my closet and found the softest, most Sara clothes I had. I washed my face, then reapplied it, badly, copying the way Sara tried to cover her bruises. I practiced hunching my shoulders. I practiced lowering my eyes. I looked in the mirror. Gone was Anna, the Yale law graduate. In her place was Sara, the terrified wife. I packed a small bag, my evidence kit, micro cameras, audio recorders. When I walked into that house on Wednesday evening, using Sara's keys to unlock the door to that suburban prison, I wasn't scared. I was ready. I was a loaded gun waiting to go off. The house looked normal. Manicured lawn, but the inside? God, the smell. It smelled like stale beer, old food, and fear. It was dark, suffocating. The very air felt heavy with violence. I barely closed the door when I heard her. Eleanor's voice, sharp and demanding. "Sara, is that you? Where the hell have you been? You know David gets home at 6 and dinner isn't even started, you useless girl." I took a breath. I channeled my sister. I made myself smaller. I walked into the kitchen. Eleanor was at the table, sipping wine. This woman, living rent-free in my sister's house, had the audacity to complain. "I'm sorry," I said, using Sara's soft, trembling voice. I lost track of time. I'll start now." "You better," she snapped, "and make something decent. Last night's chicken was dry. You can't do anything right, can you?" I just nodded. "Yes, Eleanor." I opened the fridge, cataloging everything. Evidence. I pulled out ingredients for steak and potatoes. I knew from Sara that David demanded meat and potatoes every night. As I was cooking, Chloe sauntered in, sloppy, entitled. "Oh, good, you're finally home," she said. "Bring me a soda and some chips, and turn on the TV. I want to watch my show." I just nodded. "In a minute, Chloe." "No, now," she snapped. "I'm starving." I brought her the soda. As I handed it to her, I studied her face, memorizing it, thinking of all the ways I was going to make her pay. Then Lily came downstairs. My heart fractured all over again. She looked just like Sara as a child. Big brown eyes, curly hair. She crept down the stairs like a mouse, trying to be invisible, flinching when the stairs creaked. "Mommy," she whispered. She was looking at my bruised face. I knelt and opened my arms. "Hey, baby." She ran into them, her small body trembling. She buried her face in my neck and just held on. "Mommy, are you okay? Daddy was mad." "I know, baby," I whispered, holding back my own tears. I held my niece for the first time in months and made a silent vow. This ends now. "Mommy's going to be okay, I promise." "Go watch cartoons in your room," I whispered. "I'll bring up your dinner. It's going to be loud down here tonight." She nodded, understanding, and crept back up the stairs. At 6:08, the garage door opened. The sound was like a bomb going off. The whole house tensed. Eleanor sat up straighter. Chloe muted the TV. David was home. My entire body went taut, every muscle coiled. I was about to face the man who had terrorized my sister for 3 years, the man who had choked her, the man who had slapped a 5-year-old child. The door slammed open. He was already drunk. I could smell the bourbon and rage from across the room. "Sara," he bellowed, "where's my dinner?" He was tall, 6'2", maybe 200 pounds, the kind of man who hides the monster underneath. But I could see it, the deadness in his eyes. "It's ready," I said quietly, setting his plate on the table. I had made his steak rare, but I had deliberately and heavily oversalted it, and I'd undercooked his potatoes. He sat down. He took one bite of the steak and his face twisted. "What the hell is this?" He spit the food onto his plate. "This is disgusting!" "It's like eating a salt block. Can't you do one thing right, you stupid bitch?" Eleanor chimed in instantly. "I've been telling you, David, she's useless. She can't cook, she can't clean. I don't know why you put up with her." Chloe laughed. "Girl can't do nothing right." David stood up. The violence was rolling off him. He walked toward me by the stove. He was used to Sara cowering, apologizing, begging. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I just looked him straight in the eye. "I work all damn day," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "To put a roof over your head, and this is the garbage you give me?" He raised his hand. I was waiting for it. Sara had told me he always led with an open-handed slap. His palm came flying toward my face. I caught his wrist midair. The shock on his face lasted only a second. It was replaced by pure animal rage. He roared, ripping his hand from my grasp. "You think you're strong now, bitch?" He shoved me hard. My back slammed into the hot stove. I cried out, a real cry of pain. This was not a cartoon. He was dangerous. He lunged at me. I'll kill you right here." He was coming for me, to grab me, to hit me. I didn't want to fight, but now I had no choice. As he lunged, I did what my boxing coach had drilled into me. I reacted. I shifted my weight, deflected his grabbing arm, and used his own forward momentum against him. A simple leg sweep. David Johnson, 6'2" and 200 pounds of rage, crashed to the floor. He landed hard, the air exploding from his lungs. I stood over him, shaking, my back burning. Eleanor gasped. "David, she attacked you." Chloe sat bolt upright. "Girl, you done lost your mind. He's gonna kill you." But David just lay there, gasping, staring at me. He was stunned by the fact that Sara had done it. He was calculating. "Dinner's getting cold," I said, my voice shaking. But I held his gaze. "I'm going to check on Lily." Then I walked away, leaving them standing there. I didn't feel powerful. I felt terrified. I had just started a war I wasn't sure I could finish. I went upstairs and put Lily to bed. I read her The Paper Bag Princess, about a princess who saves herself. It felt hollow. I sat there for a long time, just watching her breathe, my back screaming in pain. Never again. Around 11 p.m., I heard footsteps, 2 sets, Eleanor and Chloe. They were coming to put me back in my place. I stepped into the hallway. "We need to talk," Eleanor said, her voice dripping with venom. "About what?" I asked. "About your attitude," Chloe spat. "About your little stunt downstairs. You think you can attack David like that in his own house?" "The house that's in my name," I said quietly. "Let's not forget that." Eleanor's face flushed. "That house was bought with my son's money. You're nothing without him." "Actually," I said, "the down payment came from my parents. The deed is in my name. Legally, this is my house. And let me explain something to both of you. You've participated in 3 years of felony assault. Eleanor, Sara told me you held her down. That's conspiracy. In this state, that carries 5 to 10 years. Both of you." I waited for them to go pale. They didn't. Eleanor laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. "Conspiracy? Oh dear, you are hysterical. You've really lost it, haven't you?" Chloe chimed in, smiling. "Yeah, conspiracy. You're crazy. David is right. You've been acting crazy for weeks. You just attacked him in the kitchen. I saw it. Mom saw it." "We'll both testify." Eleanor stepped closer. "You're having a breakdown, Sara. A psychotic episode. I think you need help. I think we need to get you help." They both just stared at me, smiling. My blood ran cold. This was not in the plan. My legal threats had just bounced off them. They weren't scared of me. They weren't scared of the law. They'd been gaslighting my sister for 3 years, and now they were doing it to me. And they believed it. They thought I was insane, and I was trapped in this house with them. "You should get some sleep, dear," Eleanor said. "You've had a big, confusing day." They turned and walked back to their rooms, leaving me standing in the hallway, completely and totally powerless. I didn't sleep. At 3 a.m., I was desperate. My legal threats had failed. They were plotting to have me committed. I had no leverage. I had to get it. I slipped out of Lily's room. I went to David's home office. The door was locked. Of course it was. I stood there, defeated. Click. It was unlocked. My heart stopped. He was so arrogant. He hadn't even bothered to lock the door. His drunken, sloppy arrogance was my first real opening. I slipped inside. The room smelled like him, bourbon and cologne. I didn't turn on the light. I used the flashlight on my phone. I went straight for his desk, his laptop. It was on the password entry screen. I tried Lily and Sara and 12345. Nothing. I wasn't a hacker. I was a lawyer. So I thought like a lawyer. Where are the hard copies? I went to the filing cabinet. It was a cheap metal one. It wasn't even locked. Inside, just as I'd prayed, I found it. His financials. It wasn't complicated. It was just damning. Brokerage statements from a secret account. He was down over $80,000 in the last year. Gambling, sports betting. He was blowing his entire salary. I found bank statements. He'd been siphoning money from their joint account into this private one. This was it. This was the leverage. This was the motive. This was the proof. I took photos of everything with my phone, every statement, every number, and then I remembered what Sara had said, a jar in the shed. I went outside. It was freezing. I found the loose floorboard. Underneath, a plastic-wrapped jar. It was full of cash and jewelry. My sister's jewelry, her grandmother's pearls, the necklace my parents gave her for graduation. He hadn't just taken her money, he'd taken her past. I took photos, then put it all back. By 4 a.m., I was back in Lily's room. I had leverage now, real, tangible financial leverage. I just needed them to walk into the final trap. The next morning, I woke up early. Eleanor and Chloe were shadows, whispering. David had slept on the couch. When I got back from dropping Lily off, he was waiting, sober, and furious. "We need to talk," he said, "in the bedroom, now." This was it. I followed him upstairs. He closed the door and turned on me, grabbing my arm with the same grip that had left bruises on Sara for years. His fingers dug into my flesh. "I don't know what game you're playing," he snarled, "but it stops now. You're my wife. You do what I say. You show me respect. You know your place." He already knew he couldn't beat me in a real fight. This was his last-ditch effort at physical intimidation. "You're hurting me, David," I said calmly. My heart was hammering, but my voice was steady. "Good," he squeezed harder. "Maybe you'll remember this. Let me go, David." "Or what, you gonna sweep my leg again? You're nothing, you're crazy, and everyone's about to know it." "Let me go," I said again, "or I'll have to tell your employer about your $80,000 gambling problem, and the SEC about the money you're siphoning from your joint account. And I'll have to ask your mother how she feels about you stealing your wife's jewelry to pay off your bookie." His hand dropped from my arm like it had been electrocuted. His face went from purple to sheet white. What did you say?" "I know about the private account, David. I know about the losses. I know about the jar in the shed. I have, as a lawyer, documentation." He stared at me. He couldn't hit me. He couldn't threaten me. He was cornered. So he did what all cowards do. He tried to frame me. He called the police. The officers showed up an hour later. David had put on a great show. He'd even scratched his own face. He was claiming I'd gone crazy, that I'd attacked him unprovoked. I met them at the door. I had placed one of my micro cameras in a smoke detector. It had been recording. "Officers," I said calmly, "my husband called you because he's trying to build a false police report against me. Before you take his statement, I'd like you to see this." I pulled out my phone and showed them the video. David grabbing my arm, threatening me. "You're my wife. You do what I say." Me calmly listing his financial crimes, his hand dropping, his face a mask of terror. The video didn't show an attack. It showed a man being cornered by his own crimes. The rookie looked sick. The veteran looked angry. "Mr. Johnson," the veteran cop said, "based on this video, you're lucky we're not arresting you right now. Falsifying a police report is a crime." He turned to me. "Ma'am, do you want to press charges?" I shook my head. "Not yet. I just want him to know that someone is watching, that if he touches me again, there will be consequences." The officer turned back to David, who had gone sheet white. "Sir, we'll be filing a report about this. We'll be watching this address. If we get called back here, you will be arrested. Do you understand?" David nodded, mute with humiliation. The police left. David now knew he couldn't use the law against me. He couldn't use force against me. He was cornered. But his family wasn't done trying. That evening, Chloe made her move. She'd called her ex-boyfriend, a guy named Rhino. 6'4", 250 pounds, all muscle, neck tattoos. The play was obvious: intimidate me. Chloe left us alone. Rhino swaggered over. "So," he grunted, "I hear you've been giving my girl Chloe and her family some problems." "Have I?" I stayed calm, watching his body language. He was all puff, no real training. "Yeah, see, I don't like when women disrespect good men. David is a good dude, and you out here acting up?" He reached for me to grab my arm. I moved, one quick sidestep, grabbed his arm, used his momentum, and hip-tossed him. Basic judo. All 250 pounds of him went flying. He crashed through the glass coffee table. He looked up at me from the floor, his face a mask of shock and pain. "That's assault," I said calmly, "in front of cameras. Multiple cameras, actually. They're all over the house recording. So if you want to try again, go ahead. I'll have you arrested for home invasion and assault. That's 5 to 7 years, Rhino. And I doubt you'd do well in Gen Pop." He scrambled up, holding his ribs, and practically ran out of the house. Chloe screamed, calling me a demon, a witch. I just smiled and told her she should probably start packing. David and Eleanor had seen the whole thing. I could see it in their eyes. Real fear. This wasn't Sara. This was something else. Something they didn't understand and couldn't control. That night, I overheard them plotting. The hidden audio recorders picked up everything. They were huddled around the table, whispering. "We can't let this continue," Eleanor said. She's not Sara anymore. She's destroying our family." "What do we do?" David asked, his voice shaking. "We can't touch her. The cops won't help. We can't scare her. She knows about the money." "We need to get rid of her," Chloe said, her voice hard. "For real." A long silence. "Not like that," Eleanor said, though she sounded hesitant. "But we need to remove her, make her go away, for good." "How?" "Sleeping pills," Eleanor whispered. "I've still got a bottle of my old Ambien. We crush them up. Put them in her coffee tomorrow. A lot of them. Once she's out, we call mental health services. We tell them she had a psychotic break, that she's unstable. They'll take her away, and while she's gone, David, you file for divorce and sole custody of Lily. You file for an emergency restraining order. By the time she gets out, she'll have nothing." My blood ran cold. Not from fear, from rage. They were going to drug me, have me institutionalized, and steal my niece. These people had no bottom. Fine, neither did I. The next morning, I came downstairs, pretending to be exhausted. I'd made sure to look beaten again. I'd given them back their confidence. Eleanor was in the kitchen. "Good morning, dear. You look tired. Let me make you a nice cup of coffee." "Thank you, Eleanor," I said, my voice a meek whisper. That's very nice of you." I watched her. I watched her turn her back. I watched her pull a small, crushed-up pile of white powder from her pocket and stir it into the mug. I watched her put on a fake smile. "Here, baby," she said. "This will help." I took the cup. I looked at her, at David and Chloe who were watching. "Thank you," I said. I brought the cup to my lips. I pretended to take a deep, long drink. That's good." When no one was looking, I poured a bit of it into a nearby half-dead plant. I sat on the couch. I made a show of it. I let my head nod. I slurred my words. I'm so tired," I mumbled. I think I need to rest." I let my head fall back. I closed my eyes. I slowed my breathing. "Is it working?" Chloe whispered excitedly. "Give it a minute," David said. "Wait," Eleanor said. "Make sure she's really out." I stayed limp. I heard Eleanor approach. She shook my shoulder. "Sara? Sara, can you hear me?" I didn't respond. "She's out," Eleanor said, triumphant. "She's completely out. Call them, David. Call 911. Tell them your wife is non-responsive, that she's been acting crazy for days." That's when I opened my eyes and sat up. "That's a terrible plan," I said, my voice clear, cold, and 100% Anna. The three of them recoiled like I'd risen from the dead. Their faces were a masterpiece of terror. "I didn't drink it," I said calmly, pointing to the dead plant. "But thank you for confirming. Attempted poisoning, that's a Class B felony, 20 years, minimum." Eleanor's face went from triumph to terror. It was. "I also recorded your little planning session last night," I continued. "Conspiracy to commit forcible medical detention, filing false reports, conspiracy to commit fraud. Do you want me to keep going? Because I can. I'm a lawyer, and I know exactly what crimes you've committed." They stood there, frozen. The walls were closing in. "Here's what's going to happen now," I said, standing up. I pulled out a thick, organized folder. "We're going to have a conversation. All of you will sit at that table and you will listen." They sat. They had no choice. I opened the folder and spread the contents across the table. Medical reports, photographs of Sara's injuries, the video files on DVDs, the audio recordings on USB drives, the bank statements showing David's gambling debts, the photos of the stolen jewelry. "This," I said, "is what I've built. In 48 hours. And in the last 2 days, I added video of you assaulting me. Video of you, Eleanor, attempting to poison me. Audio of all 3 of you conspiring to have me institutionalized." David's hands were shaking so violently he knocked over his coffee cup. Who Who are you?" I smiled. "I'm Sara's twin sister, Anna, criminal defense attorney, and I've spent the last 3 days documenting every single crime you've committed against my sister." The color drained from all 3 of their faces. You tricked us," Chloe whispered. "I did," I said, "and every bit of evidence I collected is admissible. It's all legal." Eleanor started to cry. "You can't do this. You're destroying our family." "Huh. Your family?" I laughed, and there was no humor in it. "You destroyed this family when you decided to torture a woman for 3 years, when you beat her, choked her, and burned her, when you held her down, when you slapped a 5-year-old child." I pulled out another set of documents: divorce papers, custody agreements, confessions. "Here's how this goes. You have 2 choices. Choice 1, I take all of this and I walk it into the district attorney's office on Monday. I file criminal complaints. David, you're looking at 20 to 25 years, easy. Eleanor and Chloe, you're looking at 10 to 15 as accessories. You'll be gone for half a century." David was sobbing like a baby. "Or," I continued, "choice number 2, you sign. You sign everything, right now." I laid out the papers. "David, you will sign these divorce papers. You will agree to Sara getting full, sole custody of Lily. You will terminate your parental rights, 0 visitation. You will sign this confession. You will sign this document agreeing to pay $5,000 a month in child support and alimony. And you will sign over the deed to your private bank account. Eleanor, you will sign this confession, detailing your part in the abuse and the poisoning plot. Chloe, you will sign this. It's an agreement that you will never come within 1,000 feet of Sara or Lily again. All 3 of you will be out of this house in 1 hour. You will take only your clothes, nothing else." We can't. I can't," David choked out. I smiled. "You'll liquidate. You'll take out loans. I don't care. Because the alternative is prison. And prison is so much worse." "You have 1 hour," I said. "If you do not sign, I make 1 phone call and you'll all be in handcuffs before dinner. Your choice." I stood up. "I'm going to go get my niece ready, and I'm going to make a phone call." I walked out of the room. I went upstairs to Lily's room and I packed her a bag. "We're going on an adventure, baby," I told her. "We're going to see Mommy." Then I made my call. "Sara," I said, "it's done. I'm bringing Lily to you. Be ready." An hour later, I walked downstairs with Lily. The 3 of them were sitting at the table, broken. The papers were all signed. "Good choice," I said, collecting the documents. I walked to the door. David stood up. You'll pay for this. I'll find you." I turned. "No, you won't. Because if you so much as look at my sister again, if you miss 1 payment, I will release the rest of my evidence file. I've only showed you the highlights. I have copies of everything, David. With 3 different law firms, you are done." I took Lily's hand. "Come on, baby, let's go home." The drive felt surreal. I'd done it. I'd broken them. In 72 hours, I'd systematically dismantled an entire structure of abuse. I represented Sara in the divorce. It was the quickest hearing in history. The judge took 1 look at the signed confessions, the financial statements, and the video, and terminated David's parental rights on the spot. No visitation, no contact. Today, Sara is thriving. She's in therapy. So is Lily. She went back to teaching. She and Lily are safe. They're healing. And I'm reminded that justice and legality aren't always the same thing. If this story moved you, if it made you angry or hopeful, hit that like button. Let me know this message reached you. Subscribe to this channel for more real stories of survival. And comment below. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me if you've survived this. Let's build a community. Silence is what abusers count on. Silence is what lets them win. So let's make some noise. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and step up for those who can't.